Hey everyone, it's me, MJ, here with Alex Storm. We're getting ready to talk spoilers for the Lazarus Effect, so if you haven't seen the movie, go check it out and then come back and watch the video later. We're gonna get right to it. This is basically a knockoff of the old school Flatliners movie. It's about this group of scientists that are working on an experimental drug that can resuscitate dead things, basically. So they start off, they accidentally resuscitate this dog.
No, they started off resuscitating a pig.
The
And then
pig,
a dog.
The pig wasn't resuscitated, man.
Well, that was what gave you the idea that
the
they were
pig
resuscitating
is not a
things.
part of the plot.
The pig was the first thing that made me jump.
The pig is not relevant to the plot.
The pig made me jump first.
The pig wasn't running around haunting people, getting out of cages. The pig squealed one time in the first scene of the movie, and then after that, the pig disappears. So, to get back to it, spoilers, don't worry about the pig, all right? There's this dog that they bring back. Once the dog comes back, he starts doing creepy things. People start getting creeped out. But it gets more exciting when their information gets leaked and they get shut down.
So you find out where the story is really going, because obviously this dog isn't scary enough. And so the main scientist's fiance dies in an accident as they're trying to resuscitate another dog to prove that their experiment worked after their information was stolen. And when she dies, he decides to resuscitate her, and then of course, weird things begin happening to her.
Yeah, so that's actually one of the areas where the film surprised me. Just from watching the trailer, I got the impression that it was going to be sort of this slow burn, like maybe once they brought her back to life, it would be over the course of a few days or weeks, and she would start just getting creepier and creepier. But really, the story takes place in one night. So as soon as she dies, they bring her back. She gets to killing everyone that she's there with. And, and the cast is pretty small. It's got Mark Duplass. It's got, Olivia Wilde. She's the fiance. It's got my boy Childish Gambino, also known as Donald Glover from Community fame. And Evan Peters from X-Men, X-Men Days of Future Past. There you go. The standout scene as a Quicksilver in that. So, and he actually, I felt like he was one of the standouts in this movie too. I mean, he didn't have a lot to work with, but really he was just like this stoner character that was smoking e-cigarettes the whole time. It was kind of weird, but I for some reason, I don't know, I just like the guy. I mean, I enjoyed him back on American Horror Story. I like him, so I think he did a really good job for what he was given to do with. I really wish, though, that there was more drama between the characters when things started getting weird. Like, I felt like
the characters were all kind of just in agreement, except for the husband. The characters were all like, this is super weird, we need to get the hell out of here. And the husband was the only one who was like, don't worry, I can fix this.
Yeah, which is rare for a horror film.
This is true.
Usually you need some manufactured drama and people not getting it, but I can appreciate the fact that these were all supposed to be brilliant scientists. And so, therefore, they didn't do really stupid things that you normally see from most people in horror movies. They were like, okay, we got to report this. Okay, we're going to get in trouble. This is not a good look.
But this is where I have maybe the biggest question that wouldn't stop going through my head. Once it got to where she was being weird, the woman has, what's it called? She can read people's mind? What's the word for it?
A psychic?
She's a psychic. There's another word. She's telekinetic too. So she can move things with her mind, and she can read people's mind, and you find this out almost immediately after she's brought back to life. And so I just wondered why these characters were not thinking about that the entire time. Why they were not thinking, like, as soon as they realized she could read their minds, why they were not thinking, she's probably reading our minds now, and we need to stay away from her, and she's going to know we're trying to stay away from her, and so she's going to want to attack us. But I also didn't understand why she wanted to attack him.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I think that's the
one of my
biggest
questions,
issue with the entire movie is that, like, the first person she kills is Donald Glover's character, and so they have a backstory. Like, these two characters have known each other since they've been in their early 20s. It's implied that maybe they used to date. It's not really clear about that, but definitely that his character still likes her. He still wants to be with her.
And there's tension there. There's, like, attraction.
Yeah, and so in the scene where she kills him, like, she jumps all over him. She's like, make me feel normal and all this stuff. She starts trying to kiss him, and he's like, no, this isn't right. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she just, like, throws him inside of a cabinet and just smashes him like a fucking orange or something. I don't know. And it's just like, aside from the fact that the first person in the movie that dies is yet again a black man, even in 2015, this is still happening. It was just such a weird thing. And it was like, I think the single oddest thing about it was like, okay, they set it up with this dog acting strange at first. But then like the dog doesn't actually do anything violent. Yeah, it's true. He trashes the place. You know, he
And
eats some potato
he's
chips or
threatening.
something.
He growls at
Yeah,
people,
you
but he
know,
never
he's scaring
does
people, but he
anything to
doesn't
hurt
do
people.
anything that seems really crazy. And so when she comes back from the dead, it's like, again, she was in hell, and it just makes absolutely no sense. And even in going back to the dog, they go to the dog a few times. Like they've had the dog for days. So like the first day the dog came back, he was okay. And then like the next day he just didn't have an appetite. And then the next day the dog starts getting all crazy. This happens to this chick in like an hour, and she's all of a sudden she's fucking poltergeist in this motherfucker. She's fire starter. She's doing everything you can think of. She's just going off the freaking charts, and it just doesn't make any sense. But you know what? That's okay. I can get with, you know, whatever drama they're trying to bring if it was scary. Now again, you say you jumped, you say you're into it. For me, I saw every single scare coming. I've seen everything in this movie done like 100 times. And done at least 95 times better than this. Now, you know, again, the movie actually is shot well. It looks good. I think the cast is solid. I mean, these days, for a low-budget horror film, this cast is practically A-list, but you know, by comparison to most movies. But it still just didn't have. It just really didn't make any sense. Honestly, it was like, why is this woman going around trying to kill people? And there's like these subtle like subplot storyline with her holding this cross, and she burned some people up when she was a kid, and it's just like, okay, thank you for all of this.
Yeah.
What does this have to do with anything? Like,
even once you find out her whole trauma, like why she was in hell because she accidentally set a fire that killed a bunch of people, at the very end when that's tied together and you understand that was what was wrong with her, it still doesn't make sense. Like, you see her as a really positive character. Like before she's weird, you know, she's just like the scientist, and she even questions what they're doing. She says, maybe this isn't right. Maybe we shouldn't bring people back from the dead. So she has a conscience, and she's moral, or animals, but leading to people eventually. She was like, this opens up questions. And then at the end, it's like they put this thing in there as if she had maybe set this fire on purpose when she was a kid, or either way, she had killed a bunch of people when she was a kid. And so that was the only thing that made it logical, that made her, like, when she was brought back from the dead, suddenly she still had this in her to kill a bunch of people. And even that didn't make sense, because she'd go back to hell. And she didn't like hell.
It didn't
Why
make
would
any
she
sense
not
either.
atone for her sins?
But she said that she felt like she was trapped inside this thing that she thought was hell for years, even though she'd only been dead for a few minutes. So, I mean, I'm reaching here for the sake of the film, thinking maybe that's... They were implying that because she'd been gone so long in her mind that it had sort of driven her mad or put her in a position where she didn't want to go back there. Maybe that's why she came back being all angry. But yeah, it just absolutely didn't make any sense because, and I mean, just based on the trailers, I was thinking typical horror movie. Maybe when she dies, she comes back and she brings something back with her. But that's actually not what happened. And even with what was going on with the dog, with things moving around and stuff, I thought, okay, again, they've opened up a doorway, spirits are coming through. No. She was just herself. Like, there was absolutely...
Just herself with extra special brain powers.
There was absolutely no explanation, even within the science of the film itself, as to why she became evil, essentially. Like, she was essentially Lucy, the horror movie version of Lucy. She can control things with her mind. She's tapping into her brain and doing all sorts of interesting things, except none of the things she was doing were actually all that interesting.
But it was really cool, though. I love that idea of the film, that she came back and she had these, like, special powers. That was really interesting to me.
Yeah.
And I, like, when she moved the pin and when she realized that she could read people's minds and was like, oh, wow, something's crazy, something's going on. And I think it could have been really cool if they explored that and did have another element that made her evil, instead of it just being her own personality that we didn't know about.
Yeah. Or that, or she just had a deep, dark secret, and she actually was a psycho killer the whole time, and was just using this as an excuse to come back. Nevertheless, as you can see, we're a little mixed on how we feel about Lazarus Effect. I personally wasn't very high on it, but Alex here enjoyed it enough. It scared her.
I would recommend it to somebody.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's what I would say.
If you like horror movies, if you want to jump,
if you're fiending for your horror fix in 2015, you could do worse things than go to check this movie out this weekend. But don't expect a lot, and you'll be okay. On that note, this will conclude our spoiler discussion of The Lazarus Effect. Again, remember, you can follow me at The Only MJ.
And you can follow me at Alex Storm, TMT.
Thank you guys for tuning in. And for all your movie news and insight, remember to check out themoderntruth.com.